Hey punks, welcome back to the University of Radlands. We have our last Cult of Chrome preview camp to go over today, and boy am I glad that Daniel decided to show off this camp. It was my favorite from playtesting. Of course, I will link his Board Game Geek post in the description below, but let's forget all that. Let's get to this card. It is the new Obelisk. So, the old one is always one that I kind of enjoyed using or playing. Wasn't overly powerful, but added a different twist or element to the gameplay because you got a lot of cards to begin with. You get 3 starting cards with the old Obelisk, but whenever you reveal it to your opponent, it is destroyed at the start of the game, and the rest of the game you have 2 camps available to you instead of 3. So I said it was one that I kind of liked using, enjoyed the puzzle of it and how it kind of made you think a little bit differently about your strategy for the game, but not a camp that everybody else really seems to enjoy. There's maybe a little bit of a cult Obelisk following, if you will, but I think most people will probably be fine to see this go and this new Obelisk take its place. So the new Obelisk gives you 1 starting card instead of 3 to begin the game. But now this is the awesome part of this card. When the last card is drawn from the deck, you win. This gives you another way to win the game. Normally in Radlands, you either win by destroying all 3 of your opponent's camps, or they win by destroying all 3 of yours, or the game is a tie if you go through the punk deck twice. Now with Obelisk on your side of the board, as long as you can keep it around, whenever you get down through this deck and you can get through the deck and you're discarding and playing stuff, whenever the last card is drawn, whether that's by you or your opponent, whoever draws the last card when that deck reaches 0 cards there, then you win the game. And man, is this a fun way to try to win the game. Just makes you think about the game a little bit different. Gives you another, like I said, just another puzzle or another way to try to win the game and something else to think about as you're playing. So let's see what kind of combos and synergies that you're going to be looking for or hoping that you have whenever you have the new Obelisk. So a few camps from the base game that I thought would combo really well if you were to have drawn them. Supply Depot is one that lets you draw 2 cards, then you discard 1. So a way to kind of mill, like I said, through the punk deck. So draw 2, you get to keep 1, the other one goes to your, whatever discard that you have going. Mulcher, 0 water, you destroy one of your people, then you get to draw a card. So again, kind of a way to mill through the deck. Some new camps that were previewed before that would work really well. A draft office, spend 3 water, you get to draw 2 cards. Lobotomizer being a fun one. If you try to restore a person, you discard the top 3 cards from the deck, and if any are an injure, you destroy that person and then you gain a punk. So that's a way to mill or kind of remove cards from the deck. Science Lab was another card that was previewed. You discard the top card of the deck and you gain whatever you may take the junk ability of that card that you're discarding. And then Recycling Depot, which was shown off just a few days ago. Spend the water for that. Actually, it's free, so no water to do that. You discard 3 cards from your hand, and then you get to draw 2. So all those camps are ways to either draw cards or discard cards from the deck. All of that helps you achieve your new win condition with Obelisk. I would say almost playing this camp, every time that you had the junk a card to draw a card, you were probably doing it. So you would discard this to draw a new card to replace it. You're essentially probably doing that every time you see that, because that's going to help you get through the deck faster. You're probably going to be playing every single interrogate. This might be the most beneficial way to get through the deck, because it is a 1 water card that immediately goes off, and you are drawing 4 cards, and you're only keeping 1. You're discarding 3 of those cards. If you can get a bombardment to go off and you've kind of destroyed a lot of your opponent's stuff, you get to draw cards for each destroyed camp they have. That's a little bit slower, and with Obelisk you're trying to get through the deck a little bit quicker. So it does work, but might maybe be too slow for Obelisk. If you have a bunch of camps destroyed, at that point you're probably just better off trying to destroy the last camp if you can, instead of trying to mill through the deck. And then there's always some people that help you go through the deck. Wounded Soldier, you play him, you get to draw a card. If you have a looter out, whenever you damage one of your opponent's camps, you get to draw a card. Zeto Khan is really awesome. For 1 water, you get to draw 3, and then you're discarding 3. So kind of another cheap way to really go through the deck. And then one of my favorite people, Scientist, you're discarding 3 cards from the top of the deck. And this, having Obelisk, is also kind of a way that keeps your opponent from wanting to use their own Scientist, because they're not going to want to go through the deck. Your opponent's probably not going to be playing any of these cards I mentioned. They're not going to be junking for other cards, most likely, because that's going to help you. And every time, you have to draw a card at the beginning of your turn. So there's some psychological mind games also with Obelisk, because as the game moves on, the more whittled down this deck gets. Every turn, your opponent has to draw a card, and they realize that they are also helping you get closer to your new win condition. And that's just so much fun. Like I said, this is probably my favorite camp from when we were actually play testing with everybody. I want to say I might have pulled it off winning the game with Obelisk, the new Obelisk, at least once, maybe twice. At that point in time, it was a new camp that was called Clock Tower. So I wasn't super in love with that name, but it kind of made sense, the deck acting like a clock and winding down, and when the deck reaches 0 or the clock reaches 0, you win. You've destroyed the game that way. So really interesting that it does kind of also work as Obelisk. And as Daniel discussed in his preview, Clock Tower was originally going to be in the game. So one of the last interactions that I got to have with Daniel in regards to the expansion was figuring out maybe what kind of cards should be removed from the base camp, because as he mentions in his preview article for the new Obelisk, there was originally only 8 replacement camps and then 34 camps in the deck. Well, I think he had in mind, after talking to Roxley, kind of what 2 he was thinking of. He just wanted maybe kind of a second opinion as to what other camps could be replaced in the base game, and also kind of came to the same conclusion with him that training camp made a lot of sense, because we have Masquerade now, which we previewed yesterday, so didn't really need both abilities in the game when they're so similar, and Masquerade just seems to be an improvement on that. And then also I mentioned Obelisk as well. Even though I like using Obelisk, it seemed that on different forums and Facebook and Board Game Geek that a lot of people found it to be maybe one of the weakest camps in the game. So Those 2 went on the chopping block. We now had 32 new camps with 10 replacement camps, and Obelisk taking the place of Clock Tower. Man, what a great camp to show off. What a banger to make the last preview. As Daniel mentions, there's 14 additional camps, including replacement camps and new camps left to see and explore in Cult of Chrome when that drops. I really hope you enjoyed these preview videos. I really enjoyed making them and talking about the cards with you and sharing any stories that I might have had about any of the cards during play testing or getting to name any or help with the design at all when working with Daniel. But enough about me talking about the card. Punks, what do you think about the new Obelisk? Are you sad to see the old one go? Are you really excited about the aspect of having a new win condition in the game if you were to draw this new Obelisk? Comment down below. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. And as always, stay thirsty, punks.